Good evening, fellow Reds. Welcome to your EFL Cup, your League Cup, whatever cup you want to call it these days. It's a preview. It's a massive, massive game for Liverpool. It's the first trophy in the season. It's a big one for Liverpool as well. And we're here. We're going to be talking to you about how Liverpool can kind of get back on the right course, get back on the horse, as you may want to say. I've got a brilliant guest in Tossin who's joined me tonight. We're going to talk about Liverpool, the impact from the week where we had a really difficult game against PSG. We're then also going to talk about the importance of this game, what it means for Arne Slot, what it means for the players to jump back in, get back into good form with a good result as well. It's really, really important, obviously, because it's the first possibly of many um, titles that Liverpool are going to be going for under this new regime. It's an important one for Arne Slot because it really kind of does tell everyone that Liverpool are the main deal, and it's really, really important to the players, past and future players that we're going to be talking about as well, and what it means to certain players that may not be here next season. And what they want to achieve for the remainder of the season as well. So I'm joined by Tossin. Tossin, we're going to get straight into it. Um, how important is it? Is this game on the back of a really disappointing European campaign?
I, I think it's extremely important. Just as you said, I mean, the European campaign sort of ended on a disappointing note. I wouldn't say the campaign was disappointing in itself, but maybe because it ended the way it did. I thought we were great, and you know, the format did us in. But looking at the bigger picture, I think it's extremely important we win tomorrow. Tomorrow sort of defines how the final 7, 8 weeks of the season is going to be because as much as people will not want to agree, it would be great to win a trophy to sort of, start the final stretch. The Tuesday leaves a very bad taste in the mouth, especially when you look at the circumstances and what could have happened on the day. We could have easily won that game, but the game went the way it did go, and that was all she wrote. So for me, I think tomorrow is extremely important. And people might try to downplay, but I think we need to win tomorrow because if you win tomorrow, you send a strong message to the rest of the league saying, look, this is a team with a strong mentality. I mean, that's how we know about Klopp's mentality monsters. I mean, is that not what this team is? So, I mean, now they're no longer Klopp's mentality monsters, they're Slot's mentality monsters. I kind of think it has a way of staying because if we lose back to back games and you go into the international break with that, I mean, you got 2 whole weeks to to swoon, 2 whole weeks to think about what did we do wrong, and maybe you start to second guess yourself, and you start to think maybe the first one was not a mistake. So I think it's extremely important for the boys. I think it's extremely important for the fan base as well, because now you begin to see a bit of negativity from some people who don't trust, the process, or who've not trusted what has been done, by the ownership either too as well in terms of giving slots some of his players. Maybe we would say, but I think it's very important, extremely important. I think the players know it. I think Slot knows it. The fans know it as well, and it's just so interesting that we'll play an opponent that's also hungry for a trophy. They've not won one in over 70 years, so it's going to be a very interesting game. But I think the players understand the occasion. Everyone understands what it's going to be like. You've heard from Virgil van Dijk talking about how they're trying to, be very calm, but they know it's a big game. And you heard from Arne Slot, you heard what he said in his press conference about how it's very difficult to win trophies in this country. So I think for me, it's very important for for the mighty Red Men to make this happen tomorrow, and it will be a good start to Slot's campaign as Liverpool manager.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think I think there's a few things that you've mentioned there. So certainly about Klopp and Klopp's kind of mentality is very much like a sledgehammer, and the way that I've perceived on his slot and the way he goes around is very much like a scalpel. He's very precise in how he does things. Whether it's the press conferences that he holds pre-match, very much so. Kind of he knows what he's going to be saying. The type of language that he uses in his press conferences is really kind of takes the emotion out of everything. So you could talk to him like a bit of a surgeon, where Klopp used a lot of energy, a lot of emotion to try to get his point across, whether that's in the playing style that he had or um, the press conferences, whether it's post match, pre match, it doesn't really matter. So it really is that kind of that difference. Chalk and cheese, I very much kind of see it as, um, you know, from a perspective of the the season. The season doesn't really obviously end here, does it? Worst case scenario, we lose tomorrow's game against Newcastle. Newcastle then have that momentum. They have deserved more than what they've achieved certainly over the last 60, 70 years. They're a massive club. Huge fan base, a really good fan base. Let's be honest. They've been needy men in the past, whether it be cup finals or league runs. The Kevin Keegan days that I remember growing up. Anyway, under Eddie Howe, they have developed a really good game plan, a very decent squad. So a team that's caused us problems in the past. I know that Eddie Howe doesn't really necessarily have the best record against us, but it's always been a team that we are fearful of because he's been able to, bar one season where there was lots of injuries, he's had really good um, a good way of performing, playing really decent football up there in Newcastle. Um, and that's talking about them. But for us, what it means is, it's. And I did kind of mention the worst case scenario. If we don't win tomorrow's title, it doesn't really make too much difference to us in the longer run because the league title is the most important thing for us as a football team. I know a lot of people kind of thought very highly of the European campaign, but for me, it's always a bonus. The main your bread and butter should always be the league campaign, and we can do as well as we can, and certainly we are. We're top of the league. It looks like we're nearing the finish line in that race, and then we can celebrate everything else that comes along. To give us and Tosin, I'll ask you this question: if at the start of the season I was to ask you, would you be happy with a league title and a domestic cup? You put my hand off, right?
100%,
One
100%,
hundred percent.
100%. I mean, to be honest with you, one thing. I remember telling someone. I think it was back in December. While we're not built this much of a gap. I just felt I still have not come to terms that we were top of the table. And I was saying that, look, if you told me at the start of the season we were going to be top of the table in December with a chance to go, I think it was 6 points clear at that point in time. I said, look, I'd rip your hand off. And, you know, then we were also top of the Champions League group as well. And I said, if anyone told me we're going to be top of the Champions League group, told me we we're going to be top of the Premier League in December, a doubt, because it was not as if I didn't like the appointment of Arne Slot, but I had absolutely, I would say, next to no expectations. And the reason is because, you know, I've I've followed this club for more than, silver jubilee of years, and in all my fandom of Liverpool Football Club, in times past, I didn't see the Kilkenny years. So it was from Graham Souness, I started to see Liverpool Football Club, and so the 30 years we were the ones they were talking about that had not won the league title, and so I sort of learned to manage my expectations with the managers that come in, and with the way Jurgen left and how disappointing it was, and even though he saw the future, and sort of told us we were going to be contending. And people perhaps I've had to watch that video of the last day of last season. Anytime I watch it, I'm very emotional. But he sort of knew, that man knew, and whatever he saw, I don't know what he saw, but he knew that we were going to be in a better place with a manager who is really good. But I think it's good that I thought maybe if I was going to be able to accept if we had won the League Cup and the FA Cup. I'll be honest. That was my expectation. Let's see great cup runs. If we get to the Champions League final, fantastic. Let's see how close we can get in the Premier League. But the moment we start to win games, we're looking very great in the league, and the Champions League, we're doing very well as well. It just sort of becomes clear that this could be the season. So I think for me, what is extremely important is, as much as we've adjusted our expectations as the seasons have gone, and now we are believers, I think the best possible thing is, if you're in the position to win it all, why not just go for it and win it all? I mean, there's nothing bad if you win it all. Yeah, we have a club with 115 charges that kept winning everything, and nobody ever said anything about it. So I think for me, we have earned or we've deserved this, because this is something that has been coming a long time. And as Liverpool Football Club, from Graham Souness to Joe Fagan to Gerard Villiers to Rafa Benitez to Brendan Rodgers, King Kenny in his second coming, to Jurgen as well, to all these managers, and also now to Arna and what he's trying to build with this football club. I 100% believe. I will not lie. I have my, I have my doubts, especially with how tomorrow is going to be, given the fact that Newcastle are a very difficult team to play. But I think for me, it's extremely important that we approach the final with the intention of we're not going to lose, and I want to believe that that's the same mentality the guys are carrying. I just also want the fan base to realize that as much as we're thinking of the league is the most important, if we win the League Cup, it sends a message to the rest of the league, and everybody says, "Oh, okay, they're not a joke," because by that time, everyone knows this is real. I mean, I read the place where Pep Guardiola was talking about how people can try to make it look like Liverpool have not done a great season, but he thinks we've done a fantastic season. And I think if our rivals are feeling that way, it is important that we step on their necks and let them know that really, really, we're doing a great season. And what better way to do that than by winning the League Cup for a start?
Yeah, I totally agree. I was going to try to do something different here with the sharing the screen, so we can try to get a bit of a feel with the type of team that we could try to get on the pitch tomorrow. But it doesn't look like it's going to work. But we could try it another time. Um, but it's no problem. We can do that. Let's stop sharing anyway, and then bring it back to what we had. But yeah, I totally agree with everything that you just said there as well, there, Tosin. So um, let's just bring that back. There we go. There we go. Okay. Um, let's kind of talk around the formation then, the team that we could try to uh, play tomorrow. There, Tosin. Um, I think it's been really really interesting. Definitely around the goalkeeper talk and how we'd actually line up. First of all, let's kind of get into it. Who do you play as goalkeeper, Kelleher or Allison tomorrow?
I'll be honest with you. As much as I want to give Kelleher that farewell game where I think we've got to go with Ali. Um, he's the hot hand. We saw what he did over two legs against PSG. But if if Arne does what I think Jurgen would do, I think he's going to give Quibi his moment in the sun. Um, but if it's down to me, I mean, I'm just going to go with the hot hand and go with Ali, because he's really, really coming to his own in recent games. He's really been phenomenal. I mean, the man made 18 saves over two legs. That was the second most saves made by a goalkeeper in the knockout round in the UEFA Champions League over two legs. behind Manuel Neuer for Bayern Munich against Real Madrid in 2017. So he's the hot hand. I'd go with him. And I think one thing that I just sort of also noticed
Oh, I think we've just lost Tosin.
is because
Um,
what
there you go. Sorry, Tosin, I just lost you then. Sorry, you just repeating your comment.
yeah, so I was saying that I mean, so you look at what happened with Ali and Konate on Wednesday, sorry, on Tuesday, and then what happened with Ali and Virgil on Saturday. We maybe we need to sort of clean some things up defensively. That those were not characteristic errors that both of them or the trio would make, and it was just ironic. It was the three of them that contrived to make those mistakes at that point in time. But for me, I'd say I'd go Allison regardless. Although sentimentally, I'd want to say Kelleher, but I'd still go Allison because it's the hot hand.
Yeah, yeah. You just your connection's just a little bit off at the moment there, Tosin. But I'll just kind of go back and just talk about the goalkeeper situation. I totally agree. I think the number one obviously is Alisson at this club, and it's not been it's been played before where Kelleher has been the League Cup, the cup specialist in this competition. We've seen it previously against Chelsea. You know, I it's a difficult one. I wouldn't begrudge Arnis like giving Kelleher a kind of last hurrah. If we say it, if he is going to be leaving in the summer and say, this has always been your type of competition, you've done well for us, you've won us cups previously in FA Cups and whatnot. So if he did choose Kelleher, he's suitable. You know, he's an absolutely magnificent goalkeeper who's certainly better than what his position as a number two is in this league. I certainly feel that he could be playing, you know, definitely mid-table, top flight football for a team in the Premier League. Certainly around Europe, he'd be very, very good number one. Um, but Ali is the best goalkeeper in the league, the best goalkeeper in the world. My personal opinion. You know, some players, some goalkeepers have their strengths in one area. Ali essentially is great in every single area that you can think of when it comes to open play, goalkeeping. So certainly is would be my choice. Um, I think we know that Tosin. We know the centre back situation. Would have to be Kanate. You would think he's fit, and then also Virgil. Correct?
100%. I mean, those are the two best centre backs of the football club, and I hope Konate signs that extension. Konate's physicality, his ability to cover a lot of grass, and his ball carrying ability is improved a lot, and I think he's going to be
You
a.
But also, I think where there's some type of perception there about what happened in midweek with the slight loss of concentration and the mistake that led to PSG's goal. Maybe he has a point to prove as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he does, but I think people are not being fair to him. That was it was an error, and I think we saw it on Saturday. Virgil made, and I think an even worse error. You know, with Alisson, there was no communication. Maybe he should have cleared the ball better. I think a lot of people made more out of that situation than it should have been made. Should he have cleared it? 100%. But you know the way he does it, the momentum carries him. There's that moment. You have those moments as a defender where you think, okay, maybe I try to be. I'm very good. The ball is not going to get away from me. I think he underestimates Dembele's positioning there as well. So I think particularly, does he have a point to prove? Maybe you will say because he's a top talent, and this is something that a lot of people might not agree with. But I think he's maybe the third best defender in the Premier League this season, outside of Virgil and Gabriel Magalhaes. Those for me top three defenders in the Premier League. So if he has that one mistake, that one odd mistake where he definitely goes to sleep, I think I should forgive him for that. But I think outside of that mistake, I mean, you look at the way he bounced back in that game, even, and the way he was able to command. I think his ball carrying ability as well is one underrated part of his game. It was something that Joel Matip gave us a lot of advantage with. His ability to make those deep runs into the final third. Ibu is finally beginning to make those adjustments in his game as well. So I think it will be very important to have Ibu start tomorrow, especially given that Alexander Isak is definitely going to start. And you also have a situation where RB Barnes is going to start. So you need someone to somewhat cover that gap. And you also know what is possible with Joe Linton as well, coming off that left center mid. So you will definitely need him for the duels, the second balls, and especially when we have to. I'm pretty sure we will not make that mistake like the one we saw on Wednesday again. Very certain about that.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Right back, it's going to be a difficult one. If you're Conor Bradley, you're probably going to be kicking yourself because he probably would have been, first choice substitute for Trent. Um, Come PSG, he probably would have been playing tomorrow's game. So Conor Bradley would be kicking himself. But the door opens for other players to come in and make a name for himself. Kwanzaa almost did make a name for himself when he hit the post against PSG. Midweek he could have been a bit of a hero and get himself back on the right foot in terms of slot size and give him a more of a longer standing chance of being successful at this club. But the opportunity arises, maybe not in the position that he feels comfortable with, but as a right back, he certainly can do a job for the club and keep us tighter in that back four, back three, if you want to just allow a more advanced left back who would play in more of a Trent position, in the middle of the park or roam around a little bit more. But I think Kwanzaa is going to be the only option that we have available to us, unless you want to go for Endo or some talk about Curtis Jones, but I don't believe that at all. What do you think there, Tosin?
I'll be honest with you. This is totally left wing, but I'd go Endo right back tomorrow. I know a lot of people will say, "What do you mean? Why are you saying that?" But I'll go and do it right back. And here's the reason why: it's going to do a job. It's going to really, if it was Anthony Gordon, you'd probably say the same. I'd probably say the same thing as well, because he's very good in 1v1 situations. He's very difficult to get past. He makes it. He makes his opposition work for it at every time, and he's a guy who is very decent when he plays those forward passes as well. And given the fact that we will need the energy in the middle of the park with Dom, Maka, and Gravenberg, especially against the Tonali, Joelinton, and Bruno Guimaraes. I think it will be, especially given the fact that Endo will also be needed to talk into midfield at some point as well. So maybe possibly playing there. I think the concern will be in transitions, which is a bit of where he's limited, and maybe that's the reason why they're thinking Curtis Jones in that position. But for me, I mean, you look at Endo, you look at Jarrell. In terms of the difference, Jarrell is going to be 1v1. It's going to be a bit limited. Will he be able to um, will he be able to talk into the midfield and maybe do a job there to be able to win the ball and sort of help us try to create things? I think as much as people don't think that there's a lot of creativity in Endo, I think there is something there for him. So just talking at the right back, he knows what he's going to do in those 1v1 situations. He's not a matchup you want to exploit. He's going to talk into the midfield, help you in the build-up play, especially also assisting Ryan in those marking duties as well. He gives us an extra man. That means we could have a box four in the middle. And if you have a box four, it means you have Endo, Gravenberch, someone who you don't have to explain a lot of in terms of what to do in the middle of the pack. And then we have that situation where Robinson joins the back, Churchill and Ibu. Sometimes he allows Robertson to go forward as well. Sort of gives us a bit of a structure in that position. Then you have a situation where when Salah goes, then it's almost like a jump, and then you have also the situation with Maka, where Maka does not have to think a lot about running back and covering every blade of grass in the middle. So I think for me, that's my thinking behind play Endo at right back. But I will see any reason. I will see a reason uh, to play Curtis Jones there. But I think the easiest option for a lot of people will be Jared Kwanzaa because he's the defender, centre back who can, play as a right back as well. Even though there are also people, I've toyed with this idea that why not play Ibu at right back and play Jarrell at centre back because Jarrell is more comfortable playing centre back as well. Ibu is comfortable playing right back as well. I think what we are missing here is Joe Gomez. If Joe Gomez would fit, he comes in straight into this team, plugs it, plug and play, perfect. But hey, we got to do what we got to do, don't we?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I know. Again, the Joe is such a good player. It's really unfortunate that he's just had all these injuries. He probably would have played 200 games more than what he's had over the last 10 years for Liverpool. So it's just one of those unfortunate things. Left back is always going to be an interesting one. Again, with the with the sheer amount of minutes that we've played over the season, and certainly over the last 2 months, Andy Robertson's played a lot of football. Is this again one of those situations where we very similar to Ali? Do we give trust to Simicas to play left back, or do you go with old guard to see us through, get the trophy? In Andy Robertson, who seems like he's actually got back to somewhat of good form over the last few weeks. What do you think?
I mean, just play the man, play him. You look at the situation with Costa. It's not as if I don't trust Costa, but it's a cup final. Let's have our best legs out on the field. The team that gives us the best chance of winning. Costa's a good player. He's a very great role player, but don't forget we won't play any league match again until I think April the 2nd or April the 3rd. So
Yeah,
that means we're not playing any game for over 2 weeks. We don't come back until 17 days from now. So we've got to go with a team that gives us the best chance to win this title. Robertson at left back, it is. I mean, you saw the way he played, especially in the second half with Eamon Trent and the damage they were doing against PSG. I mean, my word, what a great second half they were having until Trent got injured. So I think for me, I will still stick with Robo at left back. I've had my issues with him this season. He's not.
same.
I've not been his biggest fan, but I think we've got to go with him.
I agree. I'm the same. I'm the same as you with you, Dustin. I've had some major issues with Andy and some of the decision making, being at the scene of the crime, as you may want to describe it, over a number of issues, number of incidents that we've had over the last 2 years. But if the form does continue and his legs are still there and able to kind of still push and do what he did against PSG. I'd still want him to be there, and considering that we've got a bit of an experienced right back, it just allows for him to be a bit more of the old Andy Robertson and dictate play when Trent's not there, which he's done previously over a number of seasons for the club. So it's going to be an interesting one. I think we know the back four. We certainly know the midfield. Gravenberch, McAllister, and Soboslai. I don't know if you would swap out anyone, but that's our best midfield three. Do you see anybody else really quickly?
Perfect, perfect. That's the. I mean, any other three? This perfect. The
I don't
perfect
think
guy.
so. Yeah, I think the only thing that would cause any change is whether the manager feels like he doesn't want to play a central striker. Whether he wants to bring in Curtis Jones instead of Nunes or Jota. That's the scenario that I can see that Arne Slot kind of changes away from that midfield three and makes it into a midfield four, or a double pivot with then an attacking four. That's the only thing I can see. Um, but then it comes to the main question: who you playing in your top three? Salah's obviously there because he's Salah, but then who else do you play next to him?
I can't believe I'm saying this. You've got to start Luis Diaz at left wing.
Yeah.
It looks Cody's not yet at 100%. I mean, I wanted him to come on against PSG. I was crying for him,
Mm.
come on, come on, come on. And then he comes on and he slapped me in the mouth with that performance. It was
Yeah,
just
but he
not,
was playing on one leg, wasn't he? That's the thing.
yeah,
That's the crazy thing.
yeah. I mean, he was not ready. It was obvious he wasn't fit. And the moment you just knew that this man was not ready to go was when it was time for penalties and he was not part of the first three. Cody
Yeah.
would have been part of the first three if he was fit, and you just knew. So I think for me, the man is still not at 100%. I would have loved, he would have been the perfect person to start if he's at 100%. And look, at center forward, this is totally, totally left field. A lot of people will not agree with me, but hey, I just have a question. Is Chiesa so bad that we can't give him an opportunity to see what he does? Because look, I don't know what's wrong with Diogo Jota and how he's just he can't tell me he's become bad overnight. This is a guy who won us some games earlier on in the season. I've had a lot of questions, especially in the last 2 months with his decision making in the final third. He seems very obsessed with winning penalties. He's not making the right decisions. His pressing is not as effective as it was at the start of the season. Maybe it's the video games. I may be wrong. Maybe it's the injuries, but I think he's trying too many things that are not that's not the Diogo Jota that we know, and it's giving me a bit of a concern as to why. What is the thinking? Why has he made this decision? Why did he decide to do this? That's not Diogo Jota. He's not playing Diogo Jota football. Maybe
No.
if I may say so, that's where a bit of a concern for me. If he plays Diogo Jota football, no team is beating Liverpool Football Club. But what he's been playing in the last few months has been terrible to see. Link up play in between the lines. He's not pressing well. Uh, he looks like he can't make the final step, with those final runs to get in behind the defense. Looks like he's looking for the quick option and not, the best option. So that's my concern with Jota. We need effectiveness up front. And 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 the interesting thing is Darwin Nunez seems to play a good game against Newcastle anytime he faces them. So that's also another thing that I find interesting. But for me, I mean, if I'm the coach, I'm doing something crazy and I'm going to turn on my candles. Immediately I do that. Turn on the candles and put the Chiesa up front and say, hey, Kiko, it's Lenten season. This is your opportunity to shine. You got to do something now. Don't say we didn't give you a chance. But, you know, he's not going to play Chiesa. So for me, I think just given that Darwin needs to get, he would want to make it right. He would be so desperate to do that, which I think could be a good thing and a bad thing. Maybe you start Darwin Nunez, but for me, I mean, if I was living in this fantasy world, play a front line of Diaz, Chiesa, and Salah, and let them rotate heavily. Let Diaz go to the middle. Let Chiesa go to the left. Let him be that orthodox winger. If he plays as an orthodox winger, he stretches the Newcastle defense, especially Tino Livramento, gives him something to think about. It also means that Kieran Trippier will have to make a decision, especially when Salah makes those runs, in behind or in between him and Dan Bird as well. But hey, I'm just fantasizing here, and I'm trying to see how we can sort of distort because I look at the matchups on the left. There's a matchup to exploit against Livramento. In the middle, it's a bit complicated because it's Burn and Shen, and and those two are very dangerous beasts as well. And it's Trippier against Salah, which I think is there's no competition for Salah this season unless it's Nuno Mensch. But you know, I think for me that's just what I'm looking at. Who matches up well against Burn and Shen?
Yeah, I mean, coming back to Diego Jota, it's I think for me, the way that I see it is he's obviously been carrying some type of chest injury, some type of torso impediment on him that's not allowing him to play as freely as he would like to. What he's done in the past. He's very, very physical. He doesn't seem like that physicality is still there. Is he second guessing himself because he doesn't want to get into a situation when he's got a grok that's actually landing on top of him and giving him a bigger problem.
Yeah.
There's that, but he also seems very, very tired, very much goosed at 60, 65 minutes, which for me is very, very concerning. It just shows that there's something not quite right with him. And when the body goes, the mind kind of soon follows because you're if you're not fit, if you're not healthy, if you're not able to kind of control the body, the mind kind of follows itself. This is uh, elite level sportsmen that where they if they drop off 1 or 2%, it makes such a massive
Different.
game issue, detriment to their ability to perform at the very very highest level. That's the way I see it. Whether he actually plays, I think he still will because Klopp, Arne Slot just doesn't trust Nunes. I just don't see how he actually does go ahead and play Nunes. The only reason why he would allow Nunes to play is if he's seen a situation because of the way that the PSG game went, missing a penalty. He's down in his luck. This is his redemption story, giving him one last final hurrah to do something in a Liverpool shirt. That's the only reason why I can see it. Whether that'll happen, who knows? But I actually really, really like this Chiesa master plan that you're coming out there, Tossin. Um, I I'm so excited for Chiesa coming in. I've got a shirt with his old man back there as well when he played for Italy back in 1996. Chiesa is just a genius. I think he's brilliant. I'm really really unlucky not to have played more minutes for this Liverpool team because he would have been a great asset. You know, someone that we were crying out for on midweek against PSG. Just throw him on. You've got a fully fit Chiesa or a half fit Diego Jota or a half fit Cody Gakpo. What's your options? You'd have to try to trust certain players. You have to trust Harvey Elliott. You need to trust Fede Chiesa. That's just where we probably haven't utilised the squad as well as we probably should have over the last kind of few months. And at the end of the day, we're still in the cup final. We're still top of the league. Who are we to kind of second guess on his slot? But this is what allows us to win titles. Is taking chances, and hopefully tomorrow we can take our chances, and that's the main thing. Score predictions, there, Tossin. What are you going to go for?
Man, I want to go for a 4-0 win, but I know that's me in my dream. That's my dreams. That's my dreams. That's my dream speaking to me. But I think it's ideally, I would like to say 4-0, but hey, I'd be a bit more realistic. I'll go 3-2. 3-2, 3-2, and you know, we score first, they equalize. We get the second goal, they equalize again, and time running out. Um, Darwin Nunez scores a winning goal. His redemption story is complete. And then in the summer, we sell him to Atletico Madrid for 100 million, and then we get Julian Alvarez back.
What a player! Yeah, Alvarez is a really really good player. I would love to see him in Liverpool shirt. I think he would do some damage with the front three that we have. But yeah, 3-1, 3-2, 2-1. I'm a little bit unsure. I think Newcastle will score. I think Isak is too good of a player not to be involved in this team in the game itself. But I do have an inkling that Salah's going to turn up. I think midfield will be boss again. I've got a sneaky feeling for Soboslai or McAllister, one of those two to come up with a goal. So maybe a 2-1. Um, for everyone in the chat, I can see a free one. I can see a free two from Dell and Stig. If there's anyone else, let us know what you think. Um, I just want to say thank you for tossing to joining me so late today. We weren't really planning on having a stream, but we got through. We've got 40 minutes out of this, Tosin. I think it's been a noble effort. Hopefully, Darwin Nunes has a bit more effort. Like us, we've put in the effort today. Hopefully, he can show up and prove a lot of people wrong, including myself, and score us a winner. Bring home the cup, the EFL Cup, back-to-back winners. Tosin, enjoy tomorrow. Everyone in the chat, all of Liverpool Football Club, enjoy tomorrow. It's a cup final. It's the first one under Arne's slot. Pick up the Reds and let's bring this title home. Good night, and we'll see you tomorrow.